start the reading, I just wanted some guidelines, because sometimes there's many of us, and so I want us all to be mindful of everybody having time. I will also manage that, but and the other thing is, please be mindful of trying to fix or give advice. It's fine sharing your feelings, but it's part of codependency because we want to swoop in and fix and give advice. Right? Okay, I'm
So
fine.
true. Okay. All right, now that that's expressed, let's do the reading. So if you click on that link, you could scroll down and all the way to belonging. It's at the end of the document, the last reading there. And this is from Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. Our yearning for belonging is so hardwired that we often try to acquire it by any means possible, including trying to fit in and hustling for approval and acceptance. Not only are these efforts hollow substitutes for belonging, but they are the greatest barriers to belonging. When we work to fit in and be accepted, our belonging is tenuous. If we do or say something that's true to who we are, but outside the expectations or rules of the group, we risk everything. If people don't really know who we are and what we believe or think, there's no true belonging. We can never truly belong if we are betraying ourselves, our ideals, or our values in the process. When we sacrifice who we are, we not only feel separate from others, but we even feel disconnected from ourselves. For many teens or tweens, belonging or not belonging feels like life or death. As a child, I never felt like I belonged to my family. My feelings of not belonging are still something that I have to work on. They can still show up in weird ways when I'm not expecting it. What's so powerful and hard is that the more my siblings and I talk about and share our experiences, the more I think everyone in my family felt the same way, a little on the outside of the myth of what we are supposed to be. Love and belonging are irreducible needs for all people. In the absence of these experiences, there is always suffering. True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it requires you to be who you are. I love that.
Thank you, Liz. The
Mhm.
reason I chose this is it's part of the codependency umbrella that we grasp at and try to morph into belonging because it is important to belong, but we do it at our expense, putting on a facade or, um, you know, um, just morphing into whatever needs to be. And we, at that point, many times are like not in touch with us and connected to us. We're trying to fit in, if that makes sense. So that's the reason I chose this one tonight, because I think it's really important to look at how that plays out in your life in general, in your family, in your relationships with friends, people, work. So does anybody want to share about how they recognize their need or their ways yeah, Susanna?
So for me, this really resonates today because I came back to work and had to connect with HR and a person I worked with, my leader for almost 8 years, and I just had this sense of like I thought I had this sense of belonging with the people that reported to me, and then I heard a whole different mindset, right? And it was hard, but it also resonated to who I am, which was giving too much, sense of belonging, giving too much. And you know, it was so hard for me to hear the things that I heard,
Mm.
but at the same time, I was like relieved. I I I was like, I can let go. Um, I can understand where people come from, and I can also connect to that. I don't know. It was a really hard day for me, but it resonated, which is we're human. We make mistakes, and I don't know. I think Lindsay knows. You make mistakes and you kind of move forward. Like that was, yeah. I feel like I should be able to say more, and be profound and all these things, but at the same time, I'm just like, that's what I got.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable, and I'm glad whatever you can share, you did share, you know. Um, I feel like this is a safe place or is becoming a safe place for you and everybody else, and the making mistakes, as you guys all know, is the way we learn. So, but I do feel for you having a difficult day today and want to know how we can support you, not fix you, but support you.
Uh, just being here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I just want you to know that we're here for you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you showed up for yourself as well as for all of us and are real, right? I just want to hold for a moment, just everybody just hold space. Thank you for sharing that. You know, sometimes we go through the more difficult times to come out through the other side. At least that's always been my experience. So, and if you want to share more, you're more than welcome whenever, okay? Does anybody else want to share about belonging? Our struggle with trying to belong or instead of belonging to ourselves? or how it morphs into doing both, that the more we try to belong, the more we recognize we belong to ourselves. Anybody want to share?
I'll say something.
Yes.
So we moved to La Jolla in the midst of my kids being in elementary school. And so you guys who have kids know what it's like. You get there, the kids all know each other, the moms all know each other. And I came in, La Jolla was like a step up financially, 8 steps up from where I came in Imperial Beach. And so I was very concerned about belonging. And, and it was a lot of like kids' activities and stuff related to the kids. So I was like, I've got to be there. I've got to belong. This is for the kids. Then I was like, it started happening. We started having the brunches or whatever excuse to have wine and drink. That happened pretty quickly. And then I was like, this is what I'm doing for me. This is all good. Then I sunk and I went to VKM and I came out, and my good group of friends who I belong to all drink very, very heavily. That's what we did. We went out and we, partied. And they were very aware of my situation and, actually were very proud of me and how I'd gotten sober and all that kind of thing. And so I kind of like felt like I belonged in this new way, that even though they were doing these things, I could sort of discreetly separate it out because I have very good friends who it's not all about the drinking at all. And so I don't know. It's just like I was belonging in that way, but I still had a lot of, okay, I'm missing out on, what they're doing when they're drinking. They're not going to invite me to that kind of thing. And it's still a little bit like that today. I'm still dealing with that today for sure. Because these are the friends who are living close by. So I see them all the time in my neighborhood. And I like having a friend group. But some friend groups are healthier than others, that's for sure. And I'm wondering how much more I want to belong in this group, with being able to do that with living, in this context where all these people surround me all the time, So anyway.
No, I appreciate that, Sarita. It's like you're recognizing where you belong, meaning you yourself in yourself, you know what I mean? And then you're making discerning choices from that place,
Right.
instead of needing or grasping, like we've talked about before, which gets us in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And I would do something in terms of belonging. Always, I did this with my friends. I would find friends who were much worse than I was in terms of drinking, much worse. And that would always be like, well, I'm okay. I'm not like her. And that was always sort of, I realized looking back on it, how much that was the characteristic of a lot of the relationships I'd formed that died pretty quickly, actually, for that reason.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's like where it says true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self. I love that passage, because I feel like that's the step toward the healing process of codependency. It's one of the underpinnings, if that makes sense. Thank you for sharing, Sarita. Anybody else want to share?
I'll
can
do a
share-
real. Oh, go
go
ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Oh, so I noticed a interesting pattern today with how I unfold in situations. First, there was a situation of concern. I had a lot of concern between my daughter and my horse, which left me, feeling a little, I would just flat out say in fear.
right? My daughter's in the ER right now. And along with that, when that happens, then the door opens to, oh, did I do something wrong? Do I not fit in here? It's like there's a progression that I became aware of today. It's like once I open that door of worry or something, my brain still really likes to latch on to the fact and go to something like, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or oh, I'm not fitting in, or oh, I'm going to get kicked out. I mean, like it starts to just do this like tumble of things, and it's not horrific because I know what's happening, but it still happens inside of my body, and it's like out of the blue, like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get kicked out of the barn. Well, where the fuck did that come from? That was just like this downward spiral. So I still have to fight that a little bit about, just still feeling it's not necessarily a less than thing, but it's that wanting to be part of. And I think a lot of that stems from um, being an only child, and like Sarita was sharing, when she moved to a new area, it was kind of like when I went to school, I can look back at college and see all these things that, I was a skater for a while, I was a surfer for a while, it's like all these little groups that I tried to find myself in. But since I had no sense of self, I never found anything. So that's what I got.
Thank you. And I'm going to also hold space for you and your daughter right now.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
still talking. So
Well, but
that's,
it's
yeah. Yeah.
a
I just
situation.
want her home. So
Yeah, I get it.
that's all I want. But I open the door to anxiety and activation, and then there's a parade, right? I'm like, no parade today. Just stay over your feet, as they say. So it's an interesting pattern, and I can very well see how um if I didn't have a general sense of peace, how that could so easily, and did so much in the past, just run my life.
Yeah, and that's a huge awareness, Michelle. A huge
Yeah.
awareness. Instead of, like you said, getting swallowed by it, at least you're aware of it.
Yeah, it's like the gremlins come out,
Mhm.
Like, no, there's no party here today. Just stay away. So,
Well, I'm glad you're here too.
thank you.
Lindsay, did you want to share?
Yeah, just briefly, my voice is on its like last leg, so I'm gonna be brief here, but I love this topic. Um, Today at PHP we were doing some IFS stuff and some other stuff, and then later on in the day we did there were some family roles that popped up, right? So we were just looking at like four of them. Um, and what was so funny was, well, what I thought it was funny was I didn't particularly fit into one family role or another because, don't you know it, I could relate to all of them. the other like probably 8 or 10, I don't know how many there are total, but like I guarantee you guys, whatever role that was, like if it needed to be filled in the moment, you bet your booty, here's your girl, right? I got you covered, you know? Um, and that's how my whole life has gone, dude. Whatever and I kind of used to wear it as like it's a talent, like it's a good thing kind of that I could go and I could go into any group of people or anywhere and fit in. And that's true. And there is a certain good quality to that. But what I'm talking about here is that not good quality part, which is that Lindsay, see the healthy balance part would be I can do that and I have a connection to my core self and I know who I am. But see, I can't, it's not healthy because I don't have that. And I'm doing all those other things, right? I'm going into each group and fitting in great. But Lindsay has no idea who she is, right? So anyway, it made me laugh today when we were doing the roles in group.
I love that because we could go off on a whole, and maybe we'll do that on roles all by themselves. That's a huge thing that causes codependency,
Yeah,
and I love the way she writes about how she never felt like she fit in her family and nobody else felt like they fit in, because we're all playing these multiple roles, not knowing who we are.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else ready to
I'll just
chime?
say something to piggyback off what Lindsay just shared. I really appreciated how you linked this reading to one's sense of self. And because I really feel like exploring that and learning about ourselves, or I'll just use me, but learning about myself is really the practice of recovery. It's like learning about who I am, and loving who I am, belonging to myself, all of those things. So thank you for um, sharing that.
Yeah, and going back to teens and tweens who didn't have a hard time then.
Oh,
I mean,
horrible.
moly. I remember when I was seventh grade, I moved from Texas to Southern California. That was like another world. It's and how fast I fit in because they harassed me because I looked different and talked Texan. And probably within 2 days, I fit in. I
Mm.
Nobody knows I'm from Texas. I just like boop. I learned very quickly
Mm-hmm.
because it was scary actually and very unsettling. So I mean, teens and tweens is where a lot of this whole process develops and morphs. We learn to fit in. Even in our families, we learn to fit in, not learning who we are, but how to fit in and belong,
Mm-hmm.
So it starts very early and it does morph into a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have an experience, Liz, when you were trying to fit in?
Yeah. I've had a lot. Actually, this whole reading resonates with me so much. I mean, I think it's a big thing throughout my life, actually. Just um, this sense of not belonging, uh, being different. Um, I mean, yeah, just being separate or somehow just alienated. I think probably part of that maybe is the trauma from my childhood. I literally being, kind of outside of myself. But but then growing up in a conservative Catholic family, being a lesbian was weird. And hard and didn't have a language for it and all of that. So I mean, many things, but it's interesting because just like Brene says in this reading, she said, it still pops up. Well, it pops up for me all the time. Like, and in a lot of ways, and I think about it a lot because I think my experiences have led me to be very cautious about belonging and trying to figure out what that means. Like, I don't necessarily just go into a group and feel like I'm gonna belong. There's like, even with this one spiritual community that I belong to, I feel separate and kind of other and different, and that's in me. I really recognize, I think that it's me um, that is feeling that way. Um, that it's not like I'm actively being alienated or anything like that. They're lovely and welcoming, but I don't know. I I have that experience all the time, Janice. I guess there's countless examples.
Mm.
Um, but what I do when I have those experiences is really just, I'll often touch my heart, like you teach a lot of people, that touch your heart and connect with myself. And I just remind myself that I belong to myself. I belong to me. And I am present now. I'm not lost in my addiction. I am actually here and I get to learn about myself. So that typically will put me in a place of gratitude and uh, more of a sense of self-belonging.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really nice, because it's like if we belong to ourselves, then we're safe and secure. If we're grasping and wanting to belong other places to get that feeling or that satiation of longing, we're going to be in trouble. Can you see that, you guys? It's like grasping out there for us and
Janice,
find.
I have a question for you. Is that like, would you say that it's really about like an attachment wound?
I definitely think it's an attachment wound. I think it's trauma wound. I think it's uh, trauma bonding. I think it's all those elements, because ultimately we don't know who we are. We're not safe and secure and connected to ourselves. So it comes from all of those factors that drives the codependent umbrella, which takes us away from us.
Mm-hmm.
The grasping and wanting is what takes, because really what we're looking for is us always throughout our life,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this belonging thing is, this reading is a good way to look at it a little differently and realize how it does shape us and keep us grasping, and I also feel like um, we learn who we are through groups, through family systems, through all of that. If we really are aware and discern a little bit more as we grow, we see where we can connect, where we don't connect, which helps us connect more to ourselves, kind of as the discerning principle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, I just feel like it's a good way to look at things a little bit differently, to figure out, are you playing a role like Lindsay was talking about, or are you really in you
Mm-hmm.
when you're interacting and seeking belonging, whatever belonging really means.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So one of the big things that has occurred with me is I've realized, just coming back from, being away and, being connected to Billy Kalama and all the people and you, Janice, and other people. And the way that I was insulated, I mean, I just have like this feeling of like happiness and power. And then I come home and I'm like, what the, what the hell, like, what, what is this? Like talking to my boss and talking to HR today and hearing like, but you do such great work, but we really want you to do this instead, and it's just like the disconnect from that support is so
Mhm.
astounding and traumatic.
What I believe is today you feel that, but I do believe you're still connected to everything that you were connected to at VKM. I do. And it was like you were waylaid today. I'm gonna guess if it was today. And you're gonna hopefully, with all the tools and everything that you already have, be able to resource that again and connect to it, as some of this settles. Because it sounds like it was pretty traumatic. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. No, and I totally get it. And I hear like these things and I believe them. And then you look around you and you go, who are these people?
Mm,
Like they're not getting it, you know? I don't know. Yes, it was today.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew the
Yeah.
just significance of today. And I again, because I know you very well or pretty well, um, I think the adjustment of coming home from Billy Golly Ma is a tough one. I'm just saying it for anybody. And going into a situation like you went into today, again, I don't know what it is, but I mean specifically, but it was so foreign and so surprising and so shocking that it kind of rocked you for a moment.
Yeah, it's like the belonging piece. Like I totally get it because I try to create belonging with everyone around me, and the people who worked with me. And just feeling that whole sense of like trying to reconnect to the belonging piece really resonates with me because I need that feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
I lost that and I don't want to lose it again. What I
And you,
mean, I hear people say it and I really think like saying the words and doing the work and all that kind of stuff, but really understanding it, like the belonging piece, really understanding it and knowing like the roots of it. And I don't know. I mean, I know you get me, Janice.
oh yeah, for sure. And again, if you can, and they sound like words, but I think they're really truthful in the sense of having some compassion for yourself right now and recognize your in a healing process because it is so challenging to go from an incubator. It's like being born and coming out the birth channel and coming into a different world. It's
Oh
like,
God, yeah. And like, you know, trying to not change who I am.
right.
that was the big one. Like, I had to keep myself quiet because I was like, if I say anything, I'm gonna change who I am. And so this really does, resonate with me spiritually, and like belonging to myself and the others around me. And Lindsay knows this. I mean, she and I, we've been there together. And it just, yeah, the belonging piece has really resonated with me. The belonging, like, because I always want people to feel like they belong, like around me.
Mm.
And so today was a really profound thing, which was like talking to people and trying to get them to understand, like, I just need to feel like I belong in corporate friggin' America, right? Like, I'm saying this to these people and they're like, yes, we want you to belong, and yet it's falling flat inside yourself, and regrounding that is kind of key, because nobody should feel like they don't belong. And the world is full of a lot of like conversation. That's the thing, the conversations, right? So the belonging piece really resonated with me, and I'll just stop with that. But
No, I appreciate that. Because I think what you're sharing right now is really important for all of us to see in our own version of that, because belonging is such I mean, we could talk about it for a long time because
yeah,
it's so ingrained in us not feeling like we belong. And we want to make other people feel like they belong, but is that really the path, or is it us feeling like we belong so people feel comfortable with us?
what is it?
You know, and it just going back to the codependency part, it's like when we're doing this and need it so desperately, it's really we're longing for it in us, meaning pull it back in, and belong to yourself. I know that sounds
No, it makes total sense.
yeah, it's to me it's the way to heal. It's my version of freedom. If I belong to me, then I don't care.
I like that.
You know, Kristen, do you want to share? Or are you? Oh,
Kristen or Christine?
Christine, let's go with it.
I'm sorry. It's interesting because I can relate to so much. I used to call myself chameleon. My parents would leave me with a babysitter and they would come home and I would have the accent of whatever babysitter babysat me just for the evening. So I appreciate that. I heard you say something to that. And then I just went through a whole phase of if you choose me, then I feel chosen. And yet to be chosen, I had to do so many things. I stopped choosing myself in order to belong. So then it became that, well, if you're choosing me, then what's wrong with you? Because I didn't know who I was and wasn't so sure that I was worthy of being chosen. And so finally in recovery, and I can really relate to feeling like I've done all this work. Oh my gosh, I opened my heart and there was people around me that did too. And then where are those people in the world? And there's a rawness to the not having the skin around my heart that it takes a while to find the tribe of people that also are willing to lead with heart and authenticity. And I want to belong to them. And not everyone's, Brené Brown is the same person who said, not everyone has earned the right to hear my story.
Right.
So as much as we belong, not everyone gets to be in the club, because if everyone is in, no one is.
I
Thank you all.
totally thank you. I love that. I love that. It's like I call it discernment. I'm very discerning about who I let into my circle. And then we belong. And that's okay if they choose me because I chose them. So it's a kind of a mutual. Thank you, Christine. Kristen, did you want to share?
Sure. First of all, I was going to tell Susanna, I know exactly how you feel about talking about being strong in this good place when you come out of VKM and all of a sudden the real world hits and it's kind of like, what the F? So yeah, and I'm still, dealing with that as well. As far as belonging, I've never really belonged, in anything. Um, I was adopted into a very white family and a very conservative Mormon family. Um, and I was the black sheep. I didn't belong. My brother did. He was the golden boy. Um, and, always trying to find that validation, right? From trying to be the person that they wanted me to be and never knowing who I actually was. Went through high school like this. I was always the person that was picked last on teams, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to be like, wow, poor me, just kind of giving you background. I had my son when I was 19. So when talk about not fitting in with the parents in his schools, there they were, married couples, living in their homes and everything going well. And, well, on the surface, we never know what's going on underneath. And there I was, this very, very young single parent cramming through college. So I didn't belong in the parent circles, and I certainly didn't belong in the college circles. I didn't even know we had a football team till my senior year. That's how I was shocked when I found out we had a football team. Um, so, and I isolate myself quite a bit still. And when I don't, I just do what I feel. It's kind of like when we teach, we call when you're teaching during the day being on. It's almost like a performance because no matter what's going on, you have to be upbeat. You have to keep those kids going. So I think I kind of do the same thing when I interact with people. So I don't socially interact that much. Um, and when I do, I feel like I'm just being on and acting the way that I should act. And I even see this with my kids, doing it with my kids at times. So it's definitely not serving me at all, because I still don't know who I am. Um, I think that's a long road to figure out who I am. I'm just trying to figure out where to start, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Oh, Kristen, thank you for sharing all that. It's a compilation of all the things that have happened in your life that have contributed to not feeling like you belong, and rightfully so. I can see, the chronological experience that you've had. And to finally, in this, I hope people can feel like they belong in this group, in the sense of being authentic, getting to know who you are, being able to share your authentic self. You're going to get to know yourself more in a forum like this, where people are seeking and looking and honoring. They don't know who they are either, or they're just on the path to developing an understanding, because I don't think it's a destination at all. I think it's a path, and um, I feel like the more we do this work and take the layers away, the more we are going to find ourselves. And that doesn't mean, that you're going to maybe be the most gregarious person, but at least you'll know if you want to be or not. It's a choice, as you get to find out who you are and where you fit. And I don't mean fit with others, but you fit with yourself. Like, let your body and your psyche discern, because that's the best telling. It's like trying to fit into organizations, or especially corporations. Bleh. I mean, they're like almost soulless. And I don't mean the people are, but the organization itself has it's a different, totally different process for sure. And finding, like Christine was saying, and what I was saying, and what we're all saying, is find the people, whether it's one person, 5 people, who, it doesn't matter, that resonate with you, that are on a similar path, where you can feel more connected, and then that makes you feel more connected to self. And you know, it's just a process, because we learned not to. We learned early on not to connect to ourselves from the beginning, almost, probably from the beginning anyway. So I really appreciate you guys with this particular reading, because I feel like it speaks to all of us, varying degrees. We're all maybe at different places on the path, but we're all on the same road, right? Trying to figure out who we are, and we want to. I mean, that's the coolest part, right? And the layers will come off more and more. I mean, thinking of you, Liz, I mean, you've been on this path for a while, and you certainly, are more aware. And Michelle has been on it, and Christine's been on it, everybody has been on it to varying degrees. And that's what's cool about this group. There's all different people at different parts of the path, but we're all on the same one, helping each other, right? To stay on that path. Because I don't think there's a direct route. I don't. I wish it was simple. You know.
If there was, give me the map.
Yeah, well, I think the map is inward, unfortunately, and fortunately, because it's like it's a simpler path to go in and try to find it out there. It's infinite out there. At least in here, there's a direct access as you get to know it. Anybody want any parting comments? Because I really appreciate you guys sharing and being vulnerable tonight and authentic. Well, can we all take a minute and everybody hold each other in our thoughts, and just amazing things for all of us. We all deserve amazing things. Just take it in for a minute and just let it be. All right, you guys.
I wrap my arms around all of you.
What?
I said I wrap my arms around all of you.
Yeah, me too. It's like a big, big virtual hug.
I'm embracing it.
Right
Hug
back
your
at you,
heart.
Daddy.
All right, bye, you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Mwah.